Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here and more are joining. Um, yeah, if we've never met, we can go on to the next slide. My name is Ellen Gilbert. I'm a sacred leadership coach. I don't know if you all can read that font because it looks really small in PDF for some reason, but we'll definitely share my bio with you and all those good things. I work with women leaders to help them battle burnout, the inner critic, imposter syndrome, all those nasty things. And a lot of the women leaders I work with are entrepreneurs and are actually coaches. So it was really useful for me to do this workshop and think through specifically how working with the nervous system can help coaches work with their clients better. Because these are things in a very meta way that I use with my clients, but that then some of them take on to use with their clients as well. So hopefully this is going to be helpful for you today. So yeah, I predominantly do work with women, but this particular material is for everyone, for all types of coaches. And, so often I see coaches in this field, really tackling client issues from the mind. And that can be super helpful. I think mindset work is beautiful. I use it a lot in my coaching as well, but I was really curious on my journey to partner with the body. And so that's what I've been able to do. And I don't know, Ashley, if you want to pin my video just so that, because right now I'm just seeing your video. I don't know if other people are as well, but we'll figure this out together. Sorry, I couldn't share my screen directly. And now there's some sort of lawn work happening in my building. So this is just going to be fun. Um, yeah, so we can go on to the next slide. And feel free to type anything in the chat, guys. Any questions or yeah, are you seeing me okay with the slide? Um, Maybe if I do side by side gallery, I can see all of your faces. Hello. Okay. So this workshop today, I really had three goals. And number one, it's to deepen the coaching experience for your clients. So when you sit down to work with clients, there's more of a fertile ground for them to take in the powerful questions, the deep presence that you're holding for them, all of the juicy benefits we know can come from a coaching session. I want that experience to go even deeper, at the cellular level. And that's where the nervous system really comes into play and the body really comes into play. So number two, I want you to experience these shifts for yourself because you are a worthy human being. And if you're a coach, it's not easy. We can sometimes really feel a lot of what our clients are going through. Sometimes after sessions, I'm such a sensitive being. I just lay in the fetal position. I'm just breathing, trying to kind of create a container for myself and the client and then re-enter the world. So I want you to experience some of these shifts for yourself today. We are going to practice together. And that way you can also take that in when you're working with clients, maybe before or after the session as well. And then number three, I want you and your client to experience more sovereignty, more power, and more clarity, because those are where the really beautiful sessions come from. Sovereignty in my book means everyone gets to ask for what they need and everyone gets to say no. And so when you're introducing some of these concepts to your clients, it might not be for everyone. Maybe you'll know intuitively what to introduce when or with whom. But they might just straight up say, you know what, this isn't really what I'm looking for, and set a boundary. And that's okay, because we're hoping that our clients will set those boundaries with us. And we certainly have to set them with our clients, don't we? That's all the structuring the partnership in the very first coach client session. And then the power piece, these are empowering practices that we're going to be embodying today. We're actually going to do some power poses and some different things that are going to help you have more access to your power. And then we're also going to have that increased clarity and intuition as well, which we know is kind of the whole point of coaching is to help them uncover their own wisdom. So we can move on to the next slide. Thank you so much. All right. So yeah, what is the nervous system? We know we have the central nervous system, the brain, the brain stem, all those good organs. But we also have the peripheral nervous system. So the neurons that send messages to help us think, learn, move, feel. They regulate our breath, they regulate our digestion, the beating of our very hearts. Our nervous system helps us get ready to attack, run from an attacker, conserve vital energy in a stressful situation. And our nervous system helps us be relaxed and calm so we can sleep, and just really takes us through these beautiful cycles of the human experience. Um, and I like to think of the nervous system. I'm kind of a woo-woo spiritual person, and I bring that into my coaching quite a bit. But even if you don't, like, the nervous system is that concrete science-based like way of putting our hands on that energetic experience. Like, even if you're not super into like the woo-woo or the spiritual pieces, you can certainly, I'm sure, identify when your client is in a certain kind of energetic state, whether it's their physical energy, their emotional energy, their mental energy. The nervous system really informs our energetic experience. And I think of it as the crossroads of all of these energies: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So partnering with the client, we know, because Coach Training EDU does such a great job of preparing us, what coaching is and what coaching isn't. And there are a lot of coaches out there who are really just sort of consulting and they're just giving advice at their clients. And in my opinion, it can be a very disempowering relationship. But the kind of coaching that, the International Coaching Federation and Coach Training EDU encourage us to have is a really sovereign and intuitive coaching relationship with our clients, where, yeah, that the client is the wise one, and we're holding that space in that container. And so if you think of everything that I'm going to show you today as an invitation to partner with your client on a deeper level, I think it's going to flow really nicely, because you've probably experienced this in sessions with your client when their highest self or their intuition or their wisdom comes online. There can be so much clarity. It just makes everything flow more efficiently. And you can really see, like I do mine on Zoom, you can really see that you're getting through to your client, that maybe they're crying, maybe they're making more eye contact, or there's just something about them and their energy that shows you that this is really getting through. And so when we map and shift the nervous system today, it's going to just help us get through all the more quickly and efficiently so they can get the most out of the whole experience. So, next slide. I've covered a lot already of why it's important. But I'll just sort of reiterate here. We all want our clients to have the most impactful sessions that they can. Like, they're paying us money, and I see so many new coaches who are like so nervous that their clients aren't going to get the best experience. And this nervous system work can be a great way to help everyone, including you, just ease into it, as nerve wracking as it can be. But our clients, having the best session, that requires presence. That requires their own ability to understand themselves and their unique context in this hour, hour and a half, however long the session is that you have together. It requires them to have compassion for that context and to actually trust their own power, their own wisdom, their own intuition. Because if our clients don't trust that they are worthy or capable or, wise beings, then it doesn't really matter how great of a coach you are. Like, you could literally be like the best coach in the world. And it's like the seeds that you're planting are just falling on infertile soil because that client is completely locked up. Maybe they're shut down and depressed. Maybe they are super anxious and like bouncing off the walls. Or maybe they're just really in a low point of self doubt and just questioning everything, but they're trying to like keep it together in a very robotic way in the session. And you can sense that as their coach. So these tools are going to help kind of peel back some of those layers and help you both be more authentic and vulnerable in the session. So we can go to the next slide. So I want to start with a couple of reflections and grab something to write with. I like to journal a little bit in my workshops and then we'll share out. If there's one person that wants to share, maybe on each reflection question. But the first question is going to be, how do your clients show up to sessions already? Like, what are you kind of noticing about their energy, their nervous system state? Is this something you're noticing already as a coach? And yeah, how does that energy then impact the session? So, if they show up with a lot of anxiety or tension, how is that impacting the session? And if they show up really low and really stuck, how is that impacting the session? Or kind of where do you see this going? And I'll just play some music and give you all a couple minutes to reflect on this. And if these questions don't resonate, then you can just sort of journal on anything at all. I'll play my music and maybe you'll hear it. Keep journaling. But the next question I'm going to prompt here, how do you notice your own energy or nervous system state impacting your sessions for your so keep going. All right. So you can gently wrap up as you're ready. And I'm wondering if one person would like to share out their reflection. You can just unmute yourself and start sharing just anything that kind of came from reflecting on the nervous system as a coach. That brings up a really good point around setting that container, that boundary, and, like, it's an actual like, for some people, it's like a ritual they need to have for each session because they could have had something in just before their session with you that was super stressful, or they could right after the session be going right back into, like, a super stressful job or life, so yeah, absolutely. I love that you shared that. And I hope that these tools that we're going to get into now really help with that. So, and don't worry, there will be other opportunities to share and reflect. All right, we can move on to the next slide. Ashley, thank you so much. So, what is this mapping and shifting the nervous system? How are they different? What does it mean? It just sort of came to me, I don't know, but mapping the nervous system, I think of as that body scan internal process of getting to know your inner landscape, right? And hopefully we're already partnering with clients to do this, maybe from a mental perspective, if that's more your typical jam, or maybe you already are bringing in the body or even like spirituality aspects. You're getting them to become more familiar with their own inner landscape, and this is doing it on a nervous system level to help them have the language to actually describe, like in really great detail, what's happening. And what we find in coaching is when our clients can describe it and name the thing that they're feeling, they're already like halfway or more there to regulating it or shifting it or coming to that clarity piece. Naming the elephant in the room is such a big piece of it. And then the second part, shifting the nervous system, we're going to talk about the different nervous system states and how to go from a couple of the states that we don't really want to be in into this one state that we do want to be in, which is going to be regulation, homeostasis. And like I said, I'm a spiritual coach. I bring in a lot of spirituality. So we're often like drawing oracle cards or lighting a candle or setting an intention. But even if you're not in like a woo-woo space, I think that we can always create this container and the mood that we want, the vibe that we want our client to feel when they come into sessions with us. So if our brand and our business as a coach is really about energizing them, why not start with a dance party? I have done this with clients where, no joke, they come into the Zoom room and I am like blasting music and I'm just like dancing and I'm getting my energy up. And then their mirror neurons, which we all have these mirror neurons, are reflecting that back to me and starting to kind of match my energy. So maybe they were down here when they came into the room, but just by witnessing someone else experiencing this expansive state, they start to match it. Um, Whatever we do, we're getting them into their body. And so, again, even if you're not like a meditation guide or you don't bring a lot of breath work or movement into your coaching, just how can you maybe in that first instant when you see them enter the Zoom or the room, just be like, hey, like, how are you feeling in your body? Like, if their shoulders are up to their ears, just kind of naming that, witnessing that, reflecting that back to them, because it might be something that they're not even aware of is happening. Um, and then we can bring in vocal cues and like really clear instructions to help them literally map their nervous system. And so, in my experience, I do bring in the body scan. So if that feels like something that you would like to try, I can kind of show you what that looks like. So if you want to go ahead and take a deep breath in and close your eyes down on the exhale. I invite you to sense the outline of your body sitting here in space, making contact with the air around you, the support beneath you, even the earth grounding you. Just on every breath in, sensing the internal landscape a little more deeply. And on every breath out, just letting everything go. Stay with it till you sense something that you didn't know before we started this body scan. Maybe it's a sensation, a texture, a temperature, something your body wants you to know. However you find that, go ahead. Gently return to our workshop, taking some more breath, maybe blinking the eyes open, looking around, or maybe audibly sighing it out. You return. Your skin. And so when I do these body scans with my clients or any type of visualization, I'll lead them on vision journeys or we'll meditate together. There are usually three ways that this can go. So I'm going to offer this to you in case it's helpful. One way is it's a silently guided experience, and then they verbally share out their experience after. So if we were in a one-on-one session, I'd ask you, Ashley, how was that for you? What did you notice? And then that could turn into the coaching back and forth or the space clearing before a session, or maybe like a way to find clarity after a session. Um, the second type of exercise would be guidance with real time verbal share outs. This is the one I do when a client is just like really with it with me. So I might ask while their eyes are closed, like, what are you experiencing? What is the temperature? What is the texture? Maybe you've heard some of these somatic cues before. What is the shape of the sensation? What is the weight of the sensation? And they'll answer me in real time, and it can kind of deepen the awareness as we build on those answers. And then the third type is silent guidance with reflective journaling, followed by verbal share outs. So it's sort of like the way we're reflecting in this workshop. I give them a little bit of time to journal after, and then they start to talk about it. This works really well for my younger clients, or clients that maybe don't yet have the language around the nervous system, or they're not as much in their body to know kind of what words to use. Or, we all have those shy clients that just need a minute before they start to share out what they're feeling. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Now, I think we can move on to the next slide. So, some more reflection, speaking of, um, number one, and you can journal this again, how do you think these kind of go together? I'll just give you one little time spot for these. How do you think mapping the nervous system could impact your session client? And like what wisdom do you think could arise out of this newfound awareness to take sessions even deeper? Maybe like what did you experience in that very short body scan? And have you ever thought about bringing that into your coaching? I'll play some music again. So, yeah, let's move on to shifting the nervous system. So, now that we've done mapping the nervous system, we're going to talk a little bit about shifting and then we're going to go dive into doing these practices and then we'll have our final reflection. So, shifting the nervous system is really opening, softening, expanding, sensitizing the nervous system so that what wants to flow out can flow out. Often that imposter syndrome for my clients, I work with women leaders. So imposter syndrome, inner critic, the self-sabotage, just all the BS can really flow out and leave. And then what needs to flow in can flow in. So again, wisdom, confidence, that power, that sovereignty, all the things we want our clients to experience. And we're generally shifting, like I said, from two states that we don't want into one state that we do want. So I'll explain a bit more. And it's a great way to set the intention with the client. So maybe after they've done that mapping practice, you want to ask them, like, now that we kind of know that you're experiencing depression or stuck energy, or you feel numb, for example, or maybe you feel anxiety or jitteriness. Like, what is your intention? Where do you want to go with this? You don't even have to. I'm going to give you some language for polyvagal theory and like getting a little more intense with it, but you don't even have to go there with them. They know how they want to feel. So just kind of letting them say, I want to feel more calm or I want to feel more energized. And so using that information, you'll use the tool that I'm giving you. But polyvagal theory is really this great tool that has become super popular in the last decade for understanding trauma and the nervous system. And so I'll just kind of briefly say that this like lowest state that we can experience is called dorsal, which is sort of like I like to think of it as dorsal dungeon. That helps me remember that it's the bottom level. So it's also depression. So the triple D there. It's really this sense of kind of like the reptilian, some part of our brain that really, really early evolved brain. And it's sort of that part of us that just wants to curl up like in a shell, kind of like a turtle and protect our hearts. And so you can kind of get into this shape with me and just kind of like arch your back and hunch your shoulders over to protect like the brainstem, the heart. Oh, and you know what that feels like. Excuse me. We all know what that feels like. You can shake it off now, but it's just that feeling that nothing is going right. Everything feels stuck. And it's really, again, that depression. Whereas that middle level in polyvagal, there's like three rungs of a ladder. That middle level is going to be sympathetic. And we all know sympathetic nervous system, right? It's that fight or flight response. So it's the part that wants to pump our heart and make our lungs breathe really rapidly so we can flee or fight attackers. And then we have the upper level, which is ventral or regulation or homeostasis. And we don't spend much time up here, actually. I think this is where hopefully we're going if we're regulated and if we're really conscious of it. But ventral regulation is what actually allows us to have more social connection, more eye contact, more open throat chakra, more, yeah, just community and humor and um, care and compassion. And so this is usually where clients want to go and where we want to go. And so if we're shifting from dorsal, from that very bottom rung to ventral, then I like to think of it as up and out. We're trying to get them out of that shell and with that open heart into the world. And that can feel really vulnerable and scary, but we need to bring in some expansion nervous system techniques. And then if they're experiencing that middle rung, that sympathetic fight or flight, I like to think of it more as down and in. Now, we don't want them to get down into that shell again, but we want them to have that anxious experience and bring like a hand to the heart and really partner with their nervous system to bring about, maybe you've heard parasympathetic, that rest and digest, calmness and relaxation. So whatever you probably already have in your toolkit that helps you feel that way, your clients can benefit from. And I call that safety. So we have safety on one end and we have expansion on the other. And titration is super important, going back and forth between the two. Um, if someone's experienced trauma, we don't wanna just, like, push them off a cliff and be like, "Well, why aren't you, like, experiencing expansion all the time in your life?" You know, like, that's not very trauma informed, and it's just not gonna get them to where they need to go. It's not what you want. So helping them kind of contact, like, when they're ready from the expansive state to come back to that safety or that home base. And then when they've been in that safety, that home base, that comfort zone a little too long, helping them experience some expansion again. And always asking for consent, before we do anything with the body is super important. I am a yoga teacher, so I do this in person with clients and I actually do hands-on body work and I have insurance for it. But for you, I mean, and I assume most of us are doing these sessions virtually anyway, you're guiding them to put their hands on their own body and to do these things for themselves. So you don't have to really be too worried about that piece. But getting their consent as you move forward in the session this way is super important because not everybody's going to be into it or up for it. And then being trauma informed again, super important. And I can share out some of those principles after this workshop if that's helpful. But let's move on. We don't have too much time left. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. And you can Google trauma informed principles for that list. It's really helpful. And I'll share out these slides actually so that you all have this information. This is my chart that I use in my self-care sessions that I do. It's like my menu for clients to choose between safety and expansion practices. Some of them you might be like, I don't know what that is, but we're going to practice some of these together. And I really encourage you to take from this workshop today and make your own menu of maybe what you personally would like to practice around safety and around expansion. Maybe safety for you is breath work or getting a massage or like listening to a sound bath on YouTube or just lying on your yoga mat. Sometimes that's kind of all we got the energy for, and that's okay. And maybe expansion, maybe there's like you wanna make a playlist, if you're like me, of your favorite dance music and just dance for at least 5 minutes a day. Um, Maybe you wanna be like me recently and start taking cold showers in the morning. I would definitely put that under expansion. That is no joke. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. So we're gonna practice some expansion techniques now. So the very first piece is power poses. I'm actually gonna stand up, and I invite you all to stand up. Got my standing desk here. That's helpful. And you've probably like seen the TED talk on power poses, but we're gonna get a little bit more into it. And so I studied the fascia and the nervous system as part of my yoga teacher training that I completed last year. So I love this tool that I got from that program. So what I learned and the way that I need to do yoga, and I would recommend you to try it as well, is to actually always stand with my feet wider than hip distance. Um, which you probably were taught if you've done yoga to like put your feet together, but it can make you feel really wobbly. And so let's just start by opening up our stance with our feet still parallel. I'll kind of show you what this looks like for me. Um, I like to think about my outer hip bones kind of bring hands there and make sure the feet are aligned right under those outer hip bones. Quite a wide stance, actually. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift and spread all 10 of my toes. So if you want to practice this with me, it might kind of knock you off balance a little bit. But what you're doing is actually grounding the ball of your foot and the heel of your foot into the earth. And you can start to notice between like the four corners of your foot, the two front corners of the balls of your feet, and the two back corners of the heels, like where do you need to get a little more grounding, a little more balance? And this is by far like the number one thing that I'm always telling my clients to do, whether they're in a meeting or in a stressful situation with someone, lift and spread those toes. It really does help awaken the nervous system and start to bring expansion. It's so simple. And then if we want to kind of follow that thread, make sure that your pelvis is aligned over your tailbone, right over the center of your stance. And let's go ahead and make sure that our heart is aligned right over the pelvis. And then that our head is aligned right over our heart. And we can actually bring a hand behind the head, just like it was like the wall, because often our head is too forward. So let's make sure our head is a little bit back in space. We don't want our neck crunching back like this. We actually want to just slightly tuck the chin and just take some deep breaths in this pose. I like to keep one hand behind the head with that elbow actually reaching back towards the back of the room. And then I might bring my other hand to my heart, which is actually the safety piece. So this is a very balanced pose between the expansion, opening through this left arm for me, and then the safety of that right arm on the heart. You can just close your eyes and just feel into this for a moment. When my toes are down, like I'll lower them now, I kind of collapse everything back into that turtle shell. When I lift and spread, I'm more likely to get those elbows back in space. And you can also practice with reaching the arms out wide. And then I like to flex the palm. And I can send you some fascia resources too if you're interested. We didn't have much time to get into it today, but we want to kind of stretch through that fascia in that upper back because we don't really get enough stretch there. And this is the opposite. Can you feel of that turtle shell pose? This is like, whoa, I'm powerful. I'm shining my heart forward. I am courageous. I am open to whatever my coach wants to show me today. And then we can bring our hands to our hips for that classic kind of Superman pose, Superwoman pose, and keep those toes lifted and spread. Yeah, and just feel your power coursing through here on this like closed circuit. Beautiful. We're going to go ahead and move into a bit of movement. We're going to dance and move our bodies and jump and shake. And it's going to look really silly and really weird. And again, if you need to turn your camera up, go for it. But just notice what's happening with your nervous system as we do this. This song isn't too it. Let's go slower. Whatever way feels good. Okay. Shaking out my ankle tastes really good. Shake out the head. Shake out the head. Take it to your baby. That was a slow song. I took it easy on you all. If you go to my Instagram, I have dance parties pretty regularly. They're called morning activations. And I'm always huffing and puffing. I'm always like, oh, why did I pick such a fast song? That time it was really slow. All right. We're actually gonna move on to safety, and then we'll do all of our reflections at the end just because we're running lower on time. And this will help us regulate our breath if we're all huffing and puffing, or maybe it's just me. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. And now we're gonna bring a different energy. So tapping or EFT, emotional freedom technique, is one of my favorite little go-tos. I won't get too into it because we're almost out of time, but I really recommend the Tapping Solution app. They also have a book. Uh, it just kind of gives you the like literal guidance on your phone as you're doing the meditation of where to tap, which I find super helpful because I can get really confused. Um, and tapping, if you don't know, you're tapping on different acupressure points of the body as you're repeating certain mantras, and it has changed lots of people's lives. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I did not think there was any way it was real, and then I started doing it, and now I'm like one of those people that I used to make fun of, like over here tapping myself. And one of the really cool things about tapping are the scripts that you write for yourself or for your clients. And you're saying these mantras that basically go, even though I feel this way. So just like what we're saying with the mapping, even though I'm feeling low energy or stuck or frozen, I completely love and accept myself. That would be like one example. Or even though this person really triggered me, this really hard thing happened. And then you go through like all the points as you kind of get even deeper into it. Like, oh, they really triggered me. They don't understand me. They don't know me at all. You just let them just kind of roll with it. And then at the end, I completely love and accept myself. I got to tell you guys, this, like, for me, this has changed. Like, I can feel the neural pathways being carved when I'm doing this practice myself. It's really amazing. And then the second piece is gonna be fascia scrubbing. So if you don't know what fascia is, I'll just say quickly that the fascia is the connective tissue that's just under the skin. It surrounds all of our organs. And it actually is in like every cell of our body, makes up our bones, our blood, our lymph. It's super wild. And again, I would love to send you more resources on this. but we're going to just experience it because that's the best way. So if you want to just spread your hand, maybe your left hand, and bring your right hand to the palm of your left hand and just start scrubbing. And you can kind of feel maybe the tension in your hand from the day. I actually have arthritis, so I do have pain in my hands, but there's also just like a certain level of pain I think we all experience in our hands. Maybe noticing the texture of the tissues. Is it dense and tense, or is it soft and open? A lot of my clients can't even do this, like get their fingers kind of back in space. When they open their palm, they're just like this chronically. And so we're working to open that fascia and open those lines so that they can find expansion, but it often starts with this safety piece. So I like to scrub between the mounds of the fingers, these flat bones at the base of each finger. And then I'll even kind of scrub in between the fingers. And then I'll get the back of the hand as well, kind of that webbing between the finger bone. And then I'll get the blade of the hand, the pinky side blade, and the thumb side. And this is just the hand fascia. Fascia's everywhere, like I said. So we can scrub into the wrist. And I like to scrub wrist to elbow crease. You can't get this wrong. And then elbow crease to shoulder. It's a very gentle pressure. And then I'll just start to rotate my elbow up. If I get that top elbow side of the forearm, and then through the elbow to the top of the forearm. Wait, yeah. Did I say forearm before? I don't know what this is called. This is the forearm. Oh my goodness, my brain is just not even here. Beautiful. So we can just kind of shake that out. And then we'll do a little scrubbing into the collarbone on that same side, which is where I feel the most impact. Like that shoulder ridge, those like pocket in the collarbone area, and even into the heart and the sternum a bit. And get the palm involved. And just sigh it out. Okay, we're almost out of time. I'm so sorry. And we'll just shake that out. And let's just pause here, closing the eyes, checking in with yourself. Do you notice a difference between the left and the right side? This is just the tip of the iceberg, y'all, with the fascia. It's amazing. Brings in a greater sense of awareness and hopefully some safety and down regulation as well. And since we're so low on time, I would love any reflections in the chat around how this impacted you, the expansion and the safety, whatever you want to share in the chat. All right. So, just wanted to thank you all so much for being here. I love talking about and practicing embodiment all day long. So these are my details here. And again, if you have any specific questions about the fascia, about the nervous system, about coaching, like just reach out anytime. Let me know. I've got my email and my Instagram here. I also have a coaching container coming up called Nourished Leaders. And like I said, we've got entrepreneurs in there as well as other types of leaders. Um, and I don't know if we have other coaches in there yet, but we would love to have some coaches in there. So there's the info for that. And I was going to put the link in the chat in case you did want to book what I call a vibe check, which is just a free little check-in to talk about my work or anything at all that you like. Super grateful for you, Ellen. Thank you so much for this. This is wonderful.